All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Cece Says, the holiday edition. Y'all, so we have another special guest with us tonight, Dr. Damita LaRue. I am going to introduce her in a few minutes. But first, we go through our little our little checks. So if you are here with us tonight, drop hello in the chat so we know that you are here. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you have comments, drop them in the chat. We love the engagement. Okay. So, a little bit before I introduce Dr. LaRue. So, you all know, I told you a few weeks ago back in November, we are doing the holiday edition because one, I love the holidays, but two, I also realize that everyone does not feel the same way. I understand that people struggle during the holidays for a number of reasons. And so, because of that, on Dr. Cece Says, we have done a number of episodes about loneliness, about grief and loss, trauma, difficult relationships, being single during the holidays, all of those things that might pop up that might make it difficult for you during the holiday season. Hey, sis, I see my sister Tasha is on. And so I know a lot of you probably heard today about DJ Twitch and how he died by suicide, I think on yesterday. And so we all know that the holidays can be difficult. For some, it can be devastating. Okay. And so if you need help, please say something. Say something to someone. And if you are the someone who thinks that someone else needs help, you say something, right? You never know how a kind gesture, how a smile, how saying, how are you doing? Or can I help you? Or can I do something for you? How that might impact someone. So, not that we have a responsibility to keep other people alive, that's not our job, but we can be loving, we can be caring, we can be considerate. So, y'all, let's make sure that we stay in prayer for DJ Twitch's family and his friends and his loved ones and all of his fans who are really taking this hard. Okay. And even though we're talking about DJ Twitch right now, we know that that is the story for so many people during the holidays. And y'all, that's really why I was led to do this. To if for in some way I can help alleviate some of the stress, the tension, the heaviness of this season, that's what I wanted to do. So I see hubby is on. Hey hubby. So, guys, we are going to jump in. We have a special guest with us, Dr. Damita LaRue, who just has the most just sweet spirit. And she is a psychologist, and you all will be able to tell she has all of those therapist vibes that will come out in a few minutes when she starts talking. But let me tell you a little bit about her. So, Dr. Damita LaRue is a Cherokee grandma, an international trainer and speaker, and a psychologist. She loves speaking to women from marginalized groups who struggle with chronic illnesses and pain that sometimes is exacerbated by traumas that they have experienced. As a Cherokee grandma and a health psychologist with numerous chronic illnesses herself, she is passionate about helping women grieve the losses they have experienced due to their health, trust the wisdom of their bodies over the voices of experts so that they can find true health. And that part is really important, y'all. And educating women about the impact of trauma on their health. Dr. LaRue is the founder and CEO of DLA Psychology Center in Chicago. She is a fellow in thanatology. And let me tell you what that is. That is the study of death, dying, and bereavement. And she also has advanced training in clinical hypnosis and uses it with her clients to support them with their pain management, insomnia, cancer, other medical conditions, and to prepare for recovery from surgeries. So, y'all, Dr. Damita is doing amazing work, okay, and really interesting work. I only know a few people that actually use hypnosis, and they are all cool people. Okay, so Dr. Demita, thank you for being on the show, and please or say hello and tell the people whatever you want them to know.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Cece, for having me on here. It is a honor and a privilege. I really appreciate it. And
Of
I think this
course.
is a great topic for everyone to really think about as we're preparing. I mean, we're what, 11 days away from the big Christmas day.
11 days
So there's a
away.
lot happening as we prepare and as we enter the holiday period. And there's a lot that we can do. So let's make this happen. I am
Yes.
so grateful to have everyone here tonight.
Yes, so let's get into it. So you all know if you saw the flyer, we are talking about chronic illnesses tonight. And the way that that kind of came up, one of our previous special guests made this statement about loss. And it was just so profound, it stuck with me. And what she said was that there are a lot of different types of loss. And there are a lot of different things that we grieve, not just deaths. And so as I was thinking about it, and me and Dr. Damita were talking about some things, I was like, chronic illness can bring about a feeling of loss. Definitely, right? And so let's start off with what illnesses are considered chronic illnesses. And how would you say, just overall, because I know it's different for different ones, but overall, how can they impact day to day function?
Absolutely. Great way to start is just to sort of define what chronic illness is. And the realities are there's so many illnesses that fall in this category. So it can be an acute, chronic, or a terminal illness all
Mhm.
kind of put together in the same bucket as
Mhm.
chronic. So some of the things we think about instantly are autoimmune disorders because there's not a lot of understanding about some of those. And under that umbrella also is your type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Mhm.
It's going to be multiple sclerosis. You've got epilepsy that is a chronic illness. You've got arthritis, in
Oh,
the joints. ALS is one, rheumatoid arthritis, Parkinson's. I mean, there's just a plethora
oh,
of diagnoses out there that a lot of us live with that we don't talk about.
yeah.
Or if we do talk about, we don't really know who to talk about it with. So it's really important for us to just sort of say anything that is impacting us on the day to day, or that we take a medication for, or a diagnosis that we carry, probably is going to fall in that category of chronic illness. And
Wow.
one of the things that research has shown us is the significance of it, because I don't think we allow ourselves to really understand how
Mhm.
powerful and how many people are impacted. So,
Yeah.
in the US alone, just in the US, their reports show 133 million
Yeah.
Americans live with at least one chronic illness. And
Wow.
that's more than 45% of our population. So it's a
Wow.
big deal. So there's a
Almost
lot
half.
of us, yeah, a
Mm.
lot of us that have these things. And one of the things I think is really important for all of us to understand is that some people may look like they have an illness, and others have an invisible illness.
Yeah.
So I have multiple diagnoses, but I'm what they call a person who has invisible illness. So
Mm.
although it impacts every area of my life, I look like I'm fine. No one would know when they
No.
met me,
Mhm.
but I know. And so part of the thing is, how do these chronic illnesses impact our day to day?
Mhm.
And when we're talking about them, some of it can be small things and some of them can be big things. So some mornings, people with a chronic illness wake up and they think they have their day planned, and their illness goes through what we call a flare,
Mm.
and they didn't expect it. So they wake up and their body's not doing what it's supposed to do. And it's going, you just thought you were going somewhere. You're so cute. No, you're not going anywhere today, honey. You're staying in bed. And
Mm.
it's disappointing and it's frustrating because it's
Yeah.
hard to be able to plan your life if your
Yeah.
body is not consistent.
Ooh, that's and it was so much good stuff that you just said right there, and so many like bells went off for me. All right. So one thing you said, they have at least one, right? When you were given the statistics, it hit me. People probably have multiple.
Oh, yes.
Mm, mm. And so now we're talking about, okay, well, maybe I think I have one managed, right? So like I did, I did what I needed to do the night before, because I have my day plan, and I took care of maybe the arthritis, right? Like I did what I needed to do for that. But then there's this other one. And so
Yeah,
you wake up and that one is flaring. And so now you just really don't know which way to go, because anything could pop up when we have multiple things happening.
absolutely. And it's really challenging because you don't know what to expect. You just
Mhm.
really don't know what's your body's when it's going to be really helpful or not as helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Nia just said, and I put it across the screen, you never really think about managing more than one chronic illness at a time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like
Absolutely.
you just wouldn't, that's if you're not going through it, that's not something that you think about. And then, yeah, another thing you said that hit me, the people with what looks to be silent illnesses, right?
Mhm.
And that came up a lot today in that conversation about DJ Twitch, because people were saying, oh, well, he seems so happy. He looks so happy. And, a lot of times we go off for just what we see. And we don't go beneath the surface, because we're busy and we're moving and we're doing. And so if I, very quickly ask someone, well, how are you doing? And they say, in my mind, oh, well, you look like you're doing fine. And you said, so I'm going to take that as you're doing great. And I'm going to keep it moving.
Right.
Now, as psychologists, we know better, and we dig deeper, but we've been trained to dig deeper. But it's something to think about. People can be dealing with things medically, emotionally, mentally, and it can look like they're fine when in actuality they're not.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to just be adults either,
Mhm.
because my granddaughter, she was 14 months old and she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but hers is a
Mhm.
very rare type. So she's what they call an atypical diabetic. So she
Um,
looks as healthy as can be. She's
mhm.
beautiful 7-year-old now.
Mhm.
And yet every moment of her day is controlled by machinery because
Oh,
we have one on her that's telling us what's going on with her sugars. We have one on her that's giving her insulin when we use our phone. And then she also has to know for herself, why does my body feel different? So she'll come up and she'll be, Mommy or Grandma, my legs feel funny. And
mhm.
for her, that's her signal
Mhm.
that her blood sugar is dropping. So these chronic illnesses are not something that just we as adults deal with. We
Yeah.
also deal with, we have littles that do. And
Yeah.
so it's really being aware of the impact of those things. And as we're talking about holidays, that these things really do creep up in the
Mhm.
holiday
Mhm.
celebrations.
Right, right. And so talk a little bit more about that, because I think, if people are on here and they're experiencing some type of chronic illness, I know they probably already can, vibe and feel what you're saying. But for the people that haven't had to experience that, help them understand what it takes for someone with chronic illnesses to even participate in some of the things that we want to do, especially during the holidays.
Absolutely. The preparation process is much larger. We think about when we are able bodied, we think about, well, I got to pack my suitcase and I got to get out of town. But for somebody with chronic illness, there's even more challenges because they're having to think of the what ifs. And it's not in a negative way because it's actually healthy, because they need to be prepared so that they don't get dysregulated by their illness. So they need to pack extra meds. So,
Mhm.
what if I happen to have a flare while I'm out of town? Do I
Mm.
have enough medications with me? For people who are in a state where medical marijuana is part of their treatment, can they get on the plane
Mm.
and have the medications they
Right.
need where they're going to? So
Without
there's a
having
lot of
security come and pull them off.
exactly without
Mm.
going to jail.
Right.
So it's one of those things that we really have to think about the what ifs so that we can
Mhm.
prepare for them. And we don't want to go down the rabbit hole, though, of the negativity. We just need to be like realistic. So what happens with my body when I wake up? So
Mhm.
I'll give you some examples because I believe stories are the best way for us to understand.
Definitely.
So for me, if when I wake up in the morning, my goal is that I wake up and I feel as normal as for me, and then I'm able to get up and go. But some mornings I wake up and I'm craving coffee so badly. I mean, like really bad. And what that instantly tells me
Mhm.
is, oh, my body's sending up a flare and going, hey, I'm going to have a rough day. So you need to be prepared to have some caffeine
Mhm.
because you got to prepare. And so it's
Mhm.
it's my body sending that message
Yeah.
and saying, we need extra today.
Mhm.
Or even listening to your body and going, what am I craving today? If
Yeah.
I'm craving a banana, it means my potassium's low and I'm going to start getting cramps. So I have to attend to what's the
Mhm.
messaging in this body happening? What's it telling me? And it's really important for us to kind of be able to understand the language of our own bodies. It's
Right.
like learning a new language. It's like, oh, you're trying to tell me to do what? Oh, yeah, I got it. I'm going to do that so that I feel better or I have
Mhm.
more stability through the day. Or maybe I can't do that today because I woke
Right.
up and I know I'm not feeling it. So I'm going to
And
have to modify my
yeah,
schedule.
and no amount of coffee will help sometimes, right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
the comments are rolling in, and I'm gonna get to them in one second. But before that, because again, you're giving us so much good information. So I thought about, when you said we have to be in tune. That's something that we teach, right? Like,
Mhm.
we help present that to patients in therapy because that's not something that we do just automatically. Even
No, it
though
is
our
not.
bodies, right, our bodies talk to us all the time, but we have to learn how to listen and how to decipher what our body is saying, right? So
Absolutely.
I would not have automatically thought. Now the bananas, I would have thought just because I have people in my family with chronic illness, and so I know, okay, bananas, potassium. If you get leg cramps, like you probably are low on potassium, right? So I got that one, but like the coffee, I wouldn't have thought, I just would have thought I was tired, but I wouldn't have made that leap to, "Oh, okay, wait, my body is going to need extra just to do kind of the basic stuff today." Yeah.
Yeah, and those are the
So,
days also where you kinda have to change that schedule a little bit, do some revisions
mhm,
and go,
mhm,
"Oh, well, maybe for me, I have to work at home that day instead of going to the
yeah,
office." Or maybe that means I need to move some of my
mhm,
appointments and go to my sofa and take a nap so that I have the energy to complete the day.
yeah.
Because there's a lot happening behind the scenes that typically most people with chronic illness just sort of push to the side.
Yeah, and see, thank God that we have the flexibility to do that. But this is why it's important for people that don't experience chronic illnesses to understand them because they might be working with people that do. Right. They might be supervising people that experience chronic illness and they need to, have some grace like we need to have for everybody else, but also some flexibility. Yeah. So a couple of the comments here. So Tasha said, going back to when we were talking about the littles, she said, which is even more challenging for children because sometimes they're unable to articulate what is going on with them, right? And to process. And so it sounds like, your little that you were talking about has a good understanding of her body already. And I'm sure you all have been doing some good work with her to get her to that place. And that's something, I see in therapy with children and adolescents all the time. We're trying to get them in tune and we're trying to give them the words so that they can tell us what they need to tell us so we can help them. But everybody doesn't get that. So what I'm
Well, and
hearing,
it's also one of those things that changes. So, great example was
right.
that for Thanksgiving, they decided to go on a cruise, and she didn't understand the movement of the boat. So she
Mm.
thought her sugar was crashing
Oh, but it was just,
constantly, and it
yeah.
was just the movement of the boat. So it took her the
Mm.
first 2 days of saying,
Mhm,
"Mommy, my leg's still funny," and them going, "Well, your sugar's okay." And then they
mhm,
got the aha moment. So it's also as the parent or the guardian, we're trying to help them understand
Yeah.
what's happening
Yeah.
in their bodies and how to code it and to handle it in the appropriate
In
way.
the appropriate way, yeah, and that's a lot. That's a lot to do.
Mhm.
That's a lot for them, but also a lot for the parents and the guardians. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my sister Kim said, "Say that, Dr. LaRue, people don't understand how we have to prepare." So going back to your comment about, for the holidays, people have to do more on the front end just to make sure that they're prepared for what comes up. Yes. All right. Hey, Glennie, I see you're on. Nia said her body does that too, talking about the coffee. She says she loves coffee. Yeah. Okay. And Tasha said, spoke with a lady yesterday who recently had a relapse with her MS. And because of that, her and her fiance decided to postpone their wedding in Barbados out of fear that it may occur again. And so she was saying these illnesses sometimes alter even our major life changing decisions. Definitely. Definitely.
Absolutely. And it's a scary place to be when your body's not, you're not in control of your body and it's
Yeah.
kind of controlling you. It
Mm.
is scary. And it's a place that causes, for many people, anxiety, sadness, depression, all of those things. And so it's really helpful if they have friends and family that understand some of what they're going through
Right.
so that they have support in these difficult times going, hey, I need some help making this decision because
Mhm.
I want to get married in Barbados, and yet I'm fearful of what my MS might do. So,
Right.
really exploring those things, that's really important.
Yeah. And like you said, being able to communicate, I think that part is so important. Nobody will ever fully understand what you're going through because it's not them.
Mhm.
But if you can be able to just communicate with them and ask for the help that you might need. And Kim said something that's a really great point. She said, what about when people think that folks with chronic illnesses are faking? She said there have been times when her heart has really wanted to be in places, but her body wouldn't let her. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really frustrating place for the person who has that illness to be. And I'm so sorry, Kimberly, that that happened has happened to you because when we want to be in a place, there are many people that think that we're like blowing them off.
Mhm.
And we're like, no, really, I would be there in a heartbeat, yet my body just won't do it.
Mhm.
And I've over time, I've learned to express some of those things to the people that are closest to me, that are the most important to me. Because, again, as somebody who has an invisible illness, actually, many of them, um, it doesn't make sense. It's
Mhm.
very incongruent with what they're seeing. So then I have to explain what's going on in my body. No, I choose. I don't have to. I
Mhm.
choose to explain to
Mhm.
them what's going on in my body. If they're, and this is going to sound sassy, but it's true. If they're important enough to me, I'm not
Mhm.
going to use the amount of energy that I
Yeah.
have because it's limited. I have to, I choose very carefully who I share with because if you are trying to always help everyone understand what you're
Mhm.
going through, you're exhausted. So you
Yeah.
can't tap yourself out too much. So it's finding a good balance where you can kind of do the ebb and flow with it instead of feeling like I have to explain myself to everyone.
Yeah. And Doc, what I heard there was energy. Like before you even said it, that's what popped up for me. If you are already expending so much energy just trying to be able to function the way you want to function, you definitely have to pick and choose where you also expend energy. And to be honest, everybody's not worth the energy. It's,
Exactly.
it's what it is. Yeah.
Well, and even if we think about holidays, when the holiday we're
Mhm.
talking about holidays, some people are concerned and they're asking out of love, affection, and true caring.
Mhm.
And other people are just plain nosy. So we have to really, it's best what's in our best interest.
Yeah.
And I have so many of my clients, and I go through this myself too, is you feel a little bit shameful, a little bit of guilt, and then you have to kind of let go of that and go, and this is what it takes for me to be me. And
Mhm.
if they really love me, support me, and want to be in my life, they have to ebb and flow when I ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And that's a hard stance to take. and yet it's also a boundary stance of what am
Yeah.
I choosing to share? Because it's like going to a party or going to an event, you kind of have a preparation process, not only physical of like medications to take, but also what are you anticipating people are going to ask and say? And
Mhm.
then have a plan in your mind of how you're going to address it. Well, am I going to want to say something, or am I going to choose that, hey, I'm here for Christmas party and I want to have fun. So tonight I'm choosing not to talk about my health. And when
Mhm.
people walk up and say, how's your health, or what's going on with the new treatment or anything,
Mhm.
I am very opinionated on this one, but
And
it's
that's okay.
really setting that boundary of, we're here to have a holiday party where we're happy. And tonight, I really don't want to talk about my health, but thank you so much for asking.
Yeah,
Or in reverse of a thank you so much for asking. And I'm choosing not to talk about my health tonight because I want to have fun. I want to
definitely.
focus my energy on health, prosperity, happiness,
Right.
not on how I'm feeling.
And just being, in the moment, right? So I might not want to think about those things. And I think boundary setting, that's something I'm talking about often. I see how important that would be here. Because there are so many different things, right? Like, well, people might say, oh, well, you can't come to us. We'll bring the party to you. Well, you might not feel like that either. Right.
Mm-mm.
So being able to set the boundaries, being able to communicate what you need to communicate, and hopefully, get the help and the assistance that you need. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and we are kind of already got into this question, but one of the questions: what are things to look out for during the holidays when you or a loved one has a chronic illness?
I think we go back to stay in that preparation mode.
Mhm.
Part of that is, do I have any specific um, food issues? So for me, I'm gluten intolerant and I can't handle dairy. So do I choose to share that or not? So you get to make choices. So either you share it with the people who are hosting the party so that they know, or you just offer to bring food that meets your requirements. So you'll know there will be one or two things there that meet yours and you don't have to out yourself. So you can go about it in either direction, whichever is most flexible and most appropriate for you. However, you also have to keep in mind back to that energy. Do I have the energy to cook something? And if not, do I know a place that I can go in my
Mhm.
neighborhood or in my city that will have something spectacular and meet my needs? So being open to how can I make sure that the foods that are there are the best for my dietary restrictions?
Mhm.
And also not being afraid to ask for what you need.
Right.
So you walk into a big room where there's a party and maybe there's no place to sit down and you really need to sit. So then asking someone, say, hey, I really need to sit, would that be okay for you? Can
Mhm.
I have your chair? And I always go for the younger folk, of course. But or grandma needs to sit. Can you sit on grandma's lap? Those kinds of things. And that way we're really meeting the needs that we have,
Mhm.
and remembering that energy is not, it doesn't last forever.
Right.
So
It's
if
not
you're going
plentiful.
to
Yeah.
if you're going to a family or a friend's house for a few days, you're going to have to really take it into under consideration of, do you need a nap during the day, and how do
Mhm.
you feel with telling them, I just need a couple hours to myself. You don't have to say you're taking a nap, or you can say you're having a nap, but really allowing yourself to listen to your body, because the last thing you want to do is get into a spin or a flare with your medical condition and then not have any fun,
Yeah.
or everybody sort of refocusing the plan around you, because that's an awkward place to be, is when everybody's like, oh, Damita's not feeling so good, so we're going to do this, that, and the other, and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
it's not what I
Right.
wanted.
Right.
So
I just want you to call attention to it and rearrange everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And then really thinking about how can I best take care of me when I am at these events? Do I
Mhm.
need to sit or do I need to stand? Do I need to lie down? Do I need to be on the floor? Do I need something with a back on my chair? What do I need? And not being timid about stating the need or
Mhm.
filling the need.
Yeah.
Um, and that's easier said than done. I believe me, I know. And
Yeah.
yet it's really important because it allows us the opportunity to be involved in the parties and the events
Mhm.
more and enjoy ourselves if our bodies are
Right.
not screaming.
Right.
And
Yeah.
bodies that are sick often have a tendency to kind of scream a little bit more than
Right.
the average bear.
And
And
I've
so it's
seen,
just really how do I prepare?
right. I've seen where people will push through and maybe not say anything, and so they're standing longer than they need to stand, or like Kim said in the comments, dietary needs, temperatures, standing or sitting too long, all of those things. They will put themselves out there to do those things, only to then be in the bed for like 2 3 days after that, right? And it's like, well, that's not helpful, because now people wanted to see you for an extended amount of time, and now you're not feeling well, you're in the bed, so now you're not interacting with people, and now folks are concerned about you too, so that's also shifted the mood of everybody else. And so it really, it means that we need to say something, we need to
Absolutely.
advocate for ourselves and know our bodies well enough to know what we need and then do those things.
Absolutely. And if we're traveling by flights, I don't know for the audience listening tonight, I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but all the airlines have the option for wheelchair assistance.
Mhm.
So, which is wonderful. It's a free service. They cannot charge you for it. And I have to use one. I'm going to be very transparent. And yes, it does hit my ego sometimes. I'm going to own that too. And yet at the same time, it's the only way I can travel. So I have to go up to the front desk and say, I'm here. I'm, Dr. LaRue. I need a wheelchair. And then they bring somebody out, comes out and takes care of getting me all the way to the actual plane.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's a free service, and that's what it's there for. So don't let your ego get in the way. And I do know it's really hard. And also just remembering that those people are there out of their kindness, and giving them a small tip is always wonderful. That is just really helpful, so that they also are helping you, and they'll try to take you to the bathroom on the way, or they'll say, do you want to stop and get a Starbucks on the way? So
Mhm.
all these things are really nice, and it's really helpful to make the travel the least difficult on the physical body.
Yeah, yeah. So many good points in there. And thank you for all that information. And thank you for sharing your story as well. What I heard you say, the pride part, right? So your ego.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember with some older family members that are now on over into heaven, they would push themselves, and you would ask, like, "Hey, can I help you with this?" "Mm-mm, I got it.
I got it.
I got it. Can I do it?" "Mm-mm, mm-mm, I got it." And you would see the toll that it would take. And I'm like, if you had to just let me help you over here, but I wouldn't dare say that for fear of being in trouble. But thinking, like, if you would have just let me help you over here, maybe it wouldn't have taken such a toll. And so all of us have something that we could get some help with, right?
Absolutely.
Going back to talking about DJ Twitch and all of the other people that we know that have experienced all sorts of depression or anxiety or emotional concerns and medical concerns, we could all use some help. And so we have to sometimes put ourselves out the way and say, hey, can you help me? Or can i
Absolutely.
can i use this service that is readily available to me and to everybody else?
Absolutely. And then we also, I don't know how many people in the audience are frugal. I'm going to call myself cheap. Um, I will sacrifice, or not, I try very hard not to do this anymore. However, historically, I would sacrifice my health for $25. So the flight's $25 cheaper, but it's at 6 a.m. I don't
Mm-mm.
do mornings. I don't do mornings even healthy, much less with this body. And so, is it worth the $25 to make your body have some issues or more
Yeah.
pain? And then
Yeah.
you're not in a happy place when you arrive where you're going for the holidays. And
Yeah.
so, really kind of thinking past the instant moment of, ooh, dollars and cents. Ooh, I can't do this. Oh, yes. But my body needs me to travel between noon and 4, that's my ideal time. Because that gives me plenty of time in the morning and plenty of time to get to the new
Right.
location. So it really is important for us to think about what time of day is best for my
Mhm.
body. What do I need movement wise? What do I need seats wise on a plane? Because again, I'm not going to spend crazy money for first class or anything like that. I don't have that. But I will look at the different places and go, okay, how can I get that aisle seat so I can get up, move down to the bathroom multiple times,
Mhm.
or be able to move my body, or maybe I can get one of those bulkhead seats where you can
Mhm. With the
stretch your
extra
legs
leg
out
straight.
for the extra
Mhm.
leg room because your back might
Mhm.
hurt. So really take into consideration, what does my body need and what's a plan? A plan makes it feel so much more doable because
Mhm.
you're really putting thought in it and planning. This is what I need. This is how I'm going to get there. And then you feel so much relief when you're traveling because you know you've already addressed all those issues
Mhm.
and it's not going to come up.
Yeah, definitely. And I heard you say about the $25, right? And it's a little bit cheaper. I am just getting to the place, and I think, when you've been in school for a long time and you didn't have a lot of money because you were in school, you make some of those sacrifices. It's like, oh, the 4:30 in the morning flight, okay, I just won't go to sleep and I'll just stay up and make sure I'm at the airport, right? But I am getting to the place, and I thank God that I am at a place where I can say, you know what, I'm gonna make a different decision. Because even if I don't have a chronic illness, like you said, like even in a healthy body, I'm not making a 6 a.m. That's a little too much, right? So being able to plan and have boundaries, even with the things that we're doing for ourselves. So not even just boundaries with other people, boundaries with us, and being honest with ourselves. Like, okay, you might want to run a marathon, and is that really what's going to happen?
Absolutely. And that's an important designation to determine where you fall in it. And thinking about, I was just thinking about, also where are we going to land? So, like, I'm in
Mhm.
Chicago, it's cold. Um,
Mhm.
so, I go to Arizona where it's not as cold.
Mhm.
But when you have a chronic illness, you need to know what the weather does to your body. For
Yeah.
me, cold hurts more. So my body hurts more. So then I
Mhm.
need to make sure that I am doing what I need to have the right clothing and the right ways. And I also know that I'm going to need a little bit more stretching, a little bit more movement. There's another Dr. LaRue here in Chicago, which is hilarious, by the way. But her name is Dr. Angie LaRue. We are not related. And she's a physical therapist. And her saying is motion is lotion.
Mhm.
So I love her saying because
Yeah.
I hate to move. So it's a reminder to me constantly. Motion is lotion. And so when we are stiff or our bodies are starting
Mhm.
to feel tight,
Right.
what can
Mhm.
we do even sitting in an airport, in a plane, on a
Mhm.
bus, on the CTA when I'm going back and forth downtown? What can I do to move my body in some areas or in some ways? Because my body is saying it needs something. And am I listening to its message?
Yeah. So going back to, we got to listen to our bodies and then do what makes sense. And so, Doc, it is not probably nearly as cold here as it is where you are, but it was about 34 today when I decided to go to the chiropractor. But it's something I knew I needed to do. All right, because you know how it is. We're sitting down, we're doing therapy all day. In that seated position, and you might get up and you try to move a little bit, but then you're back down for 45, 55 minutes. And so
Mhm.
I knew I needed the adjustment. I didn't want to go out in the cold, but I was like, okay, let's go, let's bundle up. And I needed it. I could tell the difference after that. And so, we got to make sure that we are doing the things that we need to do. We got some comments over here. Dr. G is on. Hey, Dr. G. She said,
Hey,
thank
Dr. G.
she said, thank you for your transparency, Dr. Demita. Kim said, setting boundaries has brought her so much peace in this stage of life. Definitely, definitely. And Tasha said some sacrifices lead to pain more mentally, physically, and emotionally, and financially in the long run. Definitely. So that $25 that we tried to save on that flight, and now I got to go to the chiropractor multiple times in 1 week just to get back to where I was.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Oh, and I see my cousin is on. Hey, Aaron. He said setting boundaries is important, but what's the best way to set them and hold yourself accountable?
Yeah,
Mm,
that's a great question. And
mhm,
part of holding yourself accountable is your body's telling you later that maybe you could have made a different choice.
mhm,
So for me, I know that when I work with people, we talk a lot about boundaries and we talk about what is the right thing for them. Every
mhm,
one of us has a different story and a different boundary we need to hold. So, is your boundary that you need to eat properly and whatever properly means for you and your body?
mhm,
And are you asking and making those statements or bringing foods to make sure that you're doing those things? So, that's part of the self accountability is either I have to either say something or do something. I have to
mm,
tell the people I'm with that these are my restrictions, or I have to make something and bring it that meets my restrictions so I can eat during the event.
mhm,
So it's both. By setting the boundary and the accountability, they play hand in hand in a really positive way, as
yeah,
well as being able to have those scripts in your head that we talked about earlier about somebody coming up and going, tell me how's the new drug you're on, because many of us with chronic illnesses, they change our drugs a lot. And
mm,
so you're like, today's not the day. Thanks so much for asking. However, tonight I'm going to focus on the fun of this
mhm,
party, and I really don't want to talk about my health, but thanks so much for asking. And
mm,
then it's done kindly, and it also helps you hold your own self accountable by going, if I choose to answer this question and I go down this rabbit hole, the only one I can blame is myself. So I need to advocate for myself in this way.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think, that accountability piece, I find it's easier for me if I know that other people are taking their time and effort to hold me accountable. So I will purposely tell other people what it is that I need to be doing, because then I will be more accountable, because I know I don't want to waste anybody's time, right? So I'm like, if you cared enough about me to send me that text to ask me how my workout is going, I need to be working out, right?
Absolutely.
You know, if I told you I needed to drink so many ounces of water each day, which is something that I'm working on right now, right? If I told you that and you took time to actually check in on me, I need to be doing what I said I was going to do. So Aaron, for me, part of the setting boundaries and sticking to them is the accountability from other people. Okay, and he said, oh, he came back and said accountability when you are not successful. Yeah, so be gentle as well, right?
Absolutely.
We're not always successful. None of us get it right every time, right? That's why we have New Year's resolutions. That's why we have do overs, right? That's why we have accountability partners and all those other things. Be gentle with yourself. Someone said, and I've been in a lot of different groups this past week, so I can't really say who it was. If you're on here and you said it, drop it in the chat. But someone said a little bit of consistency goes a long way, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm somebody who, if I started, I want to finish it and I want to go all out and I want it to be 100% whatever it was supposed to be. And I've had to back off of that because that's not always attainable. And when you don't attain it, it will discourage you and you will stop doing anything. But a little bit of consistency goes a long way. So if you fall off, and I'm talking to Aaron and whoever else, if you fall off with holding yourself accountable, with setting your boundaries, just get back on. If you were supposed to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you did it Monday and you missed Wednesday and Friday, start back the next Monday.
And also give yourself props for making Monday. I mean,
Exactly.
hello,
Yes,
that's hard to
celebrate.
do. And
Yeah,
some of us have to have more like visual kind of interactions. So I'm going to show two tattoos. One is right
I
here.
love it.
And this is, of course, a dove.
Mm,
And this dove's been through a lot, sort of like me. And on it, it says in Cherokee, grace. So
mm,
that is a reminder to myself to
mm,
apply grace to me when
yeah,
I'm not successful because we're not perfect and it's
yeah,
okay to be human. And just allow yourself to be gentle. Like you said,
yeah,
Dr. Cece, it's so important to allow ourselves to have that grace.
yeah.
And I'm going to share another tattoo. I'm a tattoo gal. What can I say?
I love
And
it.
this is a dragonfly. And on this, in Cherokee, it says grandmother. And what I want to share is when we have chronic illness, what really helps us is if we know our why.
Mm,
Why do we do what we do? Why
mm-hmm,
do we spend our time with a chronic illness and look for new ways to navigate the situation?
mm,
If we know what our why is, it makes a tremendous difference.
yeah,
On those days where we might be feeling sad or anxious or feel like want to give up, if we know what our why is, it
yeah.
helps us so much. So with this tattoo of the dragonfly, I did it in two colors. The pink is the wings and the body
Mm-hmm,
is blue. My
mm-hmm.
grandson is the body. My granddaughter is the wings.
I
And so
love it.
all I have to do is look down to my own arm and go, I got this. I
That's your
might be
whole.
in tremendous pain, but I
Yeah,
got this. I
yeah.
can do it. It may not be easy. Nobody
Mm,
said it's going to be. And what we do know is that if we have a why and we have a way of being gentle and kind with ourselves,
mhm.
makes the world more of our
Yeah.
oyster. And we don't have to be secluded with an illness and feel like we have to stay away from people. We can go,
Mm,
oh, I got some boundaries. And yeah, it's okay. I need to only have this kind of food. And I'm going to tell you guys because I'm flying in and I don't have time to cook. Or I'm not going to
mhm.
tell you guys I'm going to bring my own food, but I know that I can eat and I don't have to worry. So we
Right.
get to make those choices. And the more things we feel empowered to choose and decisions that we make,
Yeah.
the more confident we feel. And ironically, the less pain we feel because it's all
Mm,
connected. It's our
yeah.
mind and our body and our emotions. They're all
All
connected.
connected.
And
All
so if we're
connected.
struggling, our pain's
Mm,
higher. But if we're doing what we need to do and taking care of ourselves, our pain's lower. It's amazing.
mm. Because that connection is amazing, right? That mind, body, soul connection is amazing. That's how we know that we are amazing beings and we are not here by chance. We are here for a purpose. And like you said, if we are gentle with ourselves and know our why, understand your purpose. We have to find it and we have to hold on to it. And so you said
Absolutely.
your grandkids, your babies. For me, and you're on this journey, this speaking journey, and so there are plenty of times where it's like, "Ooh, this is a lot." And what did
Mhm.
I get myself into? And what am I doing? But I tell people when I understood why and who I was doing it for. Am I doing it for me? Sure, yes. But there are some little people that I love a whole lot that are coming along behind me and I want to make sure that they know they can realize any dream that they have. And so that helps to push me to continue to do what I'm doing. And so that's part of my why.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. That why makes all the difference.
It
We
does.
can move mountains if we realize what our why is.
Yeah, yeah. Aaron said, I love that and appreciate your responses. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Doc, we are going on 50 minutes. So
Whoa, we've been talking.
that's what happens. And this is such an important conversation. And Doc, I'm gonna have to have you back on to talk more about chronic illness and the link with trauma. Because
Absolutely.
I think it's trauma is something that a lot of lay people are just now becoming aware of, and we know as providers, a lot of people experience trauma and they keep moving. Right, they don't honor the fact that they've had these experiences and they haven't allowed space and time to heal. And so I think talking about that connection is really important. So you all be on the lookout for in the new year. We're gonna have more Dr. Cece says. Dr. LaRue is gonna be back to talk to us about chronic illness and trauma and the link. But before we go, any other information you want to leave with the people?
I just want to say that everyone out there struggling with chronic illness, you are not alone. That is one of the biggest fears people have, is that nobody understands and that they're alone. And
Mm,
I want to tell you from my word, my mouth, God's mouth, everyone's mouth,
mm,
you are not alone. You got support, and you're not in this alone. Statistics show it, and I'm definitely a testimony to
mm,
you got somebody else in your corner. So
mm,
please, please remember you're not alone. And if you're struggling, please reach out to anyone, your friends, your family, your priest, your preacher, your
mm,
minister, anything else, anybody you have a connection
mhm,
with, and say, I need some support right now. And if
mm,
they don't know what to do, tell them what you need them to do. I just need you to
mhm,
listen.
mm,
And I just need you to be here with me and hold my hand. I need you to sit and listen to gospel music with me in my house because I'm feeling lonely.
mm.
Anything that you need, reach out, because we're in this together. Life is a journey of all of us together.
Yeah.
And as long as we remember that, it makes us feel so much more peace inside.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you for that. And you all, like Doc said, you can tell your friends, tell your family. You can also tell your doctor. I have a lot of people ask me, how do I initiate mental health services? You can start with your primary care physician. If they don't know, I promise you they are in a better position to find somebody than you would be just on your own. And I don't know if everyone knows, but we have that 988 number now. So you can call that if you're having some type of mental health or emotional crisis. There are things out here for us. There are people that really want to help. There is not just lip service. They absolutely positively want to help. We have to open our mouths and speak. We have to advocate for ourselves. We have to get out of our own way and ask for help. Okay. Yes. So, Doc, please tell the people how they can follow you, how they can make sure that anything you have coming up, they are there front and center.
Absolutely. That would be my pleasure. So if you go to direct.me/Dr. Damita LaRue, that's
Mm-hmm.
direct.me/Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Damita LaRue, that will give you all of my social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, got a channel on YouTube, I'm on TikTok. I really want people to have a social media community where they can come and deal with the chronic illness and be on a journey to health. Instead
Yeah.
of having that negative frame all the time, let's have a positive twist to it, because we can have amazing lives even though we have chronic illness. I believe that and I live that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I dropped it direct.me/ Dr. Damita LaRue. I dropped that in the chat. That is probably going to my Heart and Soul Facebook. So once we get off, I will also drop it in the chat for LinkedIn, and I will drop it in the chat on my personal Facebook as well. Yes. And so
Sounds
people are
amazing.
Yes, people are saying thank you, Dr. LaRue. Great insight and info. Such an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for sharing. So you're getting all of the thank yous in the chat. And so I'm sure you'll see those once we get off of here. But you all, I hope you heard some things tonight. I hope you wrote some things down. I hope you are taking some things and hiding them in your heart, because we got some really good info tonight that applies to people with chronic illness, but it also applies to all of us. Right, all of us, because we're all going through something at some point, and we could all use some help. Okay, we could all use some being gentle with ourselves. We could all use some grace. All right. So, you all, that is it for tonight. I will go live one more time for the holiday edition to wrap us up. It will either be the 21st or the 28th. We will see. Hubby and I are trying to travel to Alabama for the holidays. So, depending on when that is, we'll decide when I jump on the live again. All right. Oh, I see we got some other folks on. Hey, Tanika. She's
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, Melissa and Danielle. Thank you all for being with us tonight. So, you
And thank
all,
you, Dr. Cece, for having me. I am
oh, of
so
course.
grateful. It was lovely and
Listen.
fun, and I appreciate everyone who's listening to this live and on the recordings later.
Yes, yes. And if you all are seeing the replay, please drop a replay in the chat so we know that you all have been here. Doc, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we're going to have you back on. We are going to talk about chronic illness. We're going to talk about trauma. And we might even talk a little bit about hypnosis because
Oh,
I have
yeah.
that's a blast from the past. I haven't had anybody to talk to about that since I was in grad school. So we'll have to talk. But guys, I hope you all have a great night. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. Please stay well. And if you don't feel like you are safe, healthy, or well right now, please find someone to help you with that. And you all know that you can always DM me. I will do my best to find you whatever help you need. All right. So you all have a good night.
Good night.